Alright, so with the news that has come out within the past couple of days is that Eternals 2 might probably never even happen, or that Marvel Studios does not have plans to continue the stories within the Eternals of the characters that were introduced on the big screen back in 2021, and had set up so much of potential stuff towards the end of that film, especially with the Celestials, what's next for our main characters, especially with Black Knight with Dane Whitman, and there's so much more. And so I'm gonna be breaking down of what's happening and what's really going on, but I think I could possibly predict what's next for these characters. Probably not for like a second movie, but for probably other future projects down the road as well. And so if you do heard it, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out any future bits. But now let's get into it. As I mentioned, this is true. Come out within the past couple days that Marvel Studios has scrapped plans for a possible sequel for Eternals. And now, even if you guys know, Eternals, that it introduced all of these characters all at once. That these were very new, but even it had familiar faces like with Richard Madden, Kumail Nanjiani, and Angelina Jolie, and also had Kit Harington from Game of Thrones. But that they formed a team and to take down the Celestials, or hearing the story about them. It was a very interesting story in my opinion. I like the movie, but just not so much. Even people that are saying that it might have worked better as a Disney Plus show, and I thoroughly agree on that. But even with the story and just with all the stuff that was happening at once and trying to set up these characters for a possible future down the road. I mean, let's face it, it became the worst score on Rotten Tomatoes. It didn't do well financially at the box office because this was a very new characters that people were not familiar with. And these characters are established in the MCU. They weren't loved by some people, but a lot of people enjoy the movie. In fact, your opinions are your own for those of you out there. It's just not something that I would see a sequel out of. Even just from the story standpoint, even from beginning, middle, and end, having introduced to the Celestials and what they are, and having all these connections to the past MCU timeline, and having these Eternals, what was really going on during the Infinity Saga, where they were not instructed to interfere. Why they couldn't stop Thanos, and it was a very good story for the rest of our main characters of what they were dealing with. And now they were dealing with something bigger, and that plus I liked Brian Tyree Henry's character, and on top of that I liked his character, and so it's with the rest of them. It was pretty interesting. It had some flaws, but even towards the end, it set up so much stuff, especially with the Dane Whitman about to become Black Knight, and we get the very first appearance of Blade, Mahershala Ali's voice, which everyone was very excited for. But
sure you're ready for that, Mr. Whitman?
years have passed, and we have not gotten the Blade film. I mean, that set up so much for Mahershala Ali's MCU debut as Blade, and that movie was now basically in production hell, and we have no idea that movie is going to see the light of day. But even it's because with the amount of content that Marvel was putting out at the time, because this was Phase 4 of the MCU on top with their Disney Plus shows and their films, they basically couldn't handle it all, because with a lot of general audiences, they were getting a very upset or concerned about the quality, and just introducing these newer characters into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And that's a problem that people had with the quality, but now Marvel Studios has now begun making changes and reshuffling the timeline to make sure everything fits and it connects, especially with Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. Those two are going to be big movies aside from that. But even with Eternals 2, I don't think it's pretty much needed. It's because we already have these characters, but I'm not sure if it's for like a one and done movie, but I'm thinking like this probably won't need a sequel. But I'm pretty sure we're going to see these characters later on in the MCU and upcoming future projects. Also, at the end of that film, with that celestial that took these people like and wanted to like rid the world for judgment or somehow, and like that's how it basically ended. Especially with those two post credit scenes, and I don't know. And that led towards anywhere, if it goes anywhere. I mean, I don't know. But after that movie, years have passed, and we had no idea if the Eternal sequel was even happening. And in fact, like, especially with San Diego Comic Con in D23, those recent events where Marvel updated us like what's going on, what projects that they have coming out. Like they didn't do a whole slate to reveal 20 different projects at the same time, like and announcing it all at once. I mean, if Eternals was going to get a sequel, we would have gotten a confirmation from Marvel or Kevin Feige, but I'm pretty sure that's not even the case because we see these characters get their film, but I don't know if it was a guarantee that they'll be getting a sequel or I mean, they're going to be sticking around in the MCU for a while, just not for a sequel, but for upcoming projects, and that's what I'm really excited for. And I don't know if they're going to be making small appearances, but I'm pretty sure like we're going to see these characters later down the road, but just not for like a second movie. Also, with these characters that we were introduced to in the film, they were pretty interesting, especially with their abilities of what they can do as god beings. Like, especially with Duig and Makari, which I really liked in that movie. I thought they were great together on screen. But in terms of like introducing them all at once, and like there were some pretty good action scenes, like involving the the creatures and like something like that. But I can't even remember like the characters' names like most of the time. Like it's like this is a movie that I don't look back on often. But I mean, I'm glad that it came out and like it introduced us to this whole new phase. And even like we thought it was going to tease some like big future stuff for the MCU, right? But it turns out like I mean that movie was not well received and it didn't make much. And I can probably see why Marvel Studios did not want this film to have a sequel, but it was going to be in development. But then, like, I think it's just going to get scrapped. But I think like there's some future potential projects that these characters could pop up in. But I'm not expecting. I mean, I don't know if we're all expecting them to show up in Secret Wars or some other project. But I'm pretty sure like we're going to see these characters sometime soon. But I would love to have seen this as a Disney Plus show where each character gets their own chance to shine. But even with a big movie like this, and even as we were in the midst of the pandemic at the time, like I mean, what would a second movie even deliver with these characters that they teased towards the very end of the first movie, and then especially with the two post credit scenes, and just like so much stuff happened and they had potential, but I mean Marvel Studios looked at it and decided not to continue the Eternals storyline for the way it was received. But I think Chloe Zhao did a really good job with this movie. I mean it had a very cool visuals, it had very interesting stuff, but in terms of the story and just with the pacing, it was alright, but it's not something that I would have liked to see continue on, but it was nice to see in a film and on screen. And so, to wrap this all up is, I'm sad that Eternals 2 got scrapped or even cancelled, but I mean, I just don't see a potential storyline for a second movie, but I'm pretty sure we'll see these characters pop on like later down the line in like future projects, like especially with other new characters that we were introduced to in Phase 4, like with Moon Knight, Miss Marvel, and She-Hulk. And I feel like they had their good run. Like I could basically like see them like show up in like different projects, but I feel like I mean just with having all these characters introduced, like and with the quality that sort of dipped, and I'm thinking that like Marvel is definitely trying to work the way back up in terms of keeping the quality back up. And I'm pretty sure we'll have to wait and see. But hey, I'm excited for future projects, and if these characters show up or not. But I'm glad that they had their film and their time on screen and in the Marvel universe as well. But that's going to do it for this video. But just let me know in the comments below. And what are your thoughts on the news on Eternals 2 being scrapped, and if you would like to see these characters pop up in a future project, just let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the notification bell for future videos, and also follow all my social medias, all of which are linked down below, including my Patreon. And with that, I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.